We're going to give you one of the most basic, but at the same time, most important concepts to understand when it comes to trading, regardless of the time frame. And we're speaking about support and resistance. We're going to tell you how to master support and resistance in this video. Guys, let's get right into things here. When it comes to a definition first, let's talk about what is support and resistance in trading.
So, thank you, Brendan. And all trading is basically supply and demand. That's what price discovery is going to be. So support simply means a price area where if it falls down to that level, and I can always demonstrate on a chart here, the actual supply of bids and buyers is going to be higher than the demand of sellers. So you'll have a decrease in price. It'll go down into that price support area. There's a high demand for buyers. All of that selling is going to decrease and the price will move away to the upside from that price. And of course, resistance will be the opposite of that. So that'll be when you reach a high. And then suddenly there's an oversupply of sellers and the demand can't be met, and you might get a turnaround from those prices. Now, that does not mean, of course, once you identify support and resistance that you cannot trade through these prices. Certainly, you can always have breaks of these price levels. Anything can happen in the market, but it's a good way to determine sometimes entries and exits and other key price areas you might want to wait to enter some trades. So that's the basics of what it is. Of course, we will get into specific ways to use it and then ways to identify where it might be in the future.
Look, I pulled up a chart, good examples there, Neil. I want to pull up a chart of Ford as well. Like, how can you determine support and resistance? Neil just went over a couple examples, and I think this is a good one as well. Ford right now today up that 6.33%, and look what's happening. This is breaking not just 52-week highs, but this goes all the way back to this high in particular goes to March of 2021. But, you can pull Ford back a ways away, and we haven't been here in a long, long time. So this is another level that you want to look at. This is a daily chart. So when you're determining, hey, you know what? I want to go long a stock. Is it breaking out? Where are we? To me, this is a key factor here. And you're not going to necessarily play this for the long side on a breakout through resistance. So up top would be resistance, and then down low would be support. So what you could want to do here is look at the base case. If you want to go short Ford, this is a great opportunity as you are near these highs and you have an easy stop out. It could even be this wick higher, 5 or 10% higher, something like that could be your out. So you look for resistance to get in and out of your trades and possibly start new ideas if you fall all the way back down. One more spot here on Ford. And again, this is one stock. Look how many times. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is support down here at 1130. The finally bounces on good news. You get this bump to the high side. So this is what we're kind of looking for here on Ford. It's a quick example, and you're going to find many of these as you look throughout your universe of stocks. But this is a good one where Ford held this bottom. Good news now in the automotive sector. So then you get that bump up right back to here. So if you're looking to execute and you're long down here off this support of 1125, 11 even, something like that, this may be now used as a target to get out. Realize this gain and say, hey, maybe we're at a stopping point again here. So support and resistance could be used for numerous things, to start new positions or give you a possible idea on where to get out of your current position, Brendan.
All right, so if we're simply considering this as a place where both buyers and sellers can come to an agreement and say, this is a good price, let's exchange a lot of shares at this price, that then in the future can be used as a reference price. So for new traders that might be looking at a chart for the first time, how can we determine where these levels are looking back at price action?
Exactly. I'm going to stick with the same chart. I happen to have Virgin Galactic on a 15-minute. Now, you can use any time frame you want for these. So, if I zoom out and give you that look that we had before, I have this line at 2160 tapered off here so that you can see you have a bit of support at this price level a couple of times. Now, what you want to do when you zoom in is notice the most important thing is how many times this is actually broken. That little support level. So you do see a cluster of price action just above that 2160. It moves away from it. Then we come right back to here on the 22nd, a couple of days later, and then you're going to see a break of that support level, a hold of that support level. So sometimes you're talking about a price area where supply and demand finds that convergence. A good way to determine if it's good support is you should see some clusters of tightly wound candles around that price. So you see it back here, you see the same thing here, it moves very, very rapidly down into that support, and then you get these tight clusters. You go into the future because, is it any good if it's not going to give you some kind of an indication that it's going to be a key level before? What happens when it actually breaks this level? So you get a cluster as well, and this is the thing about support. If it is a good support level, that means that it should A, serve as a good price area for a stop and sometimes for a reversal. So if you had a stop placed when you went long here in like 2180, 22, about a week in advance off that same price level, that stop would have saved you an unbelievable amount of money as you get a flush in Virgin Galactic when it finally broke that support definitively. So this is the key thing. You wanted to see those clusters of price action at that support level just so that you know it has some significance. Obviously, I showed you a week or two ago on this 15-minute chart that it would have those nice bounces for long trades. And this is what can happen when that support is broken. And just to go back to it, if you have a key price area that you know supply and demand is met, do not necessarily erase it from your chart, because I will come to the last couple of sessions here when we made this, as a rebound happens in Virgin Galactic, it comes back to that same line, and then 2 days in a row, that area of support turns into future resistance, and then suddenly you have moves sharply away from it. So this is how you want to use it. You identify those clusters of prices, and if it's really significant, make sure you hone in on that price in the future.
Neil, looking at a little bit further back, I actually want to take an example straight from today's trade. This is a Novus bio. So you're going to see today up 248%, right? So some of what we're talking about can be used daily charts, weekly charts, monthly charts, but how about a 1 minute chart? So we're going to go here. This is so easy to identify. This is the kind of clusters that Neil's talking about, and it's happening right in front of our face. You could say, how does a stock go from $26 to $95 and then basically stop like this? Well, it's kind of simple. Look what's happened down here. Look at volume. And we're going to talk about this in a couple minutes a little bit more. Volume kind of dying off as we figure out the proper support and resistance levels, right? So when this breaks back down below, predicting this is going to happen, down below $87, $88, then you're probably going to see some volume spikes as traders begin to get out of their position. So if you're battling the stock right now, ANVS, and you're not sure long or short, this is not giving you any sort of indication. We can even zoom in even a little bit more. 96.50 as the high, 87 as the low. So this is going to be your support area, and then this is going to be your resistance area on the top side. Take a look back here. Again, stock ripping, halting all over the place. But you say, okay, I want to get long. Where do I get long? Well, look for that support again, right? So right down here between about 10 a.m. to about 11, so you got an hour here where we never broke this 53 area. Maybe we dipped down to 52, 51, but this is going to give you an excellent opportunity to identify support areas. So if you do go short, maybe we stop here at this cluster where we have some support. Or you can stop down here at this cluster where, again, there is support. So right now, really no resistance to the upside. We'll just look to see if we could take anything out. But I think this is a great opportunity to look at a minute chart on a stock that is going crazy today. You can use support and resistance even on your day trades, Brendan.
Okay, so now we understand what exactly support and resistance areas are and how they're created. We even know, how we find them on a chart. I want to give you one more example. And again, this is from today's trading. This is just a little biotech stock, ENVB. I want to point out this area. This is a daily chart on the left. This is the 15-minute on the right. So this area of 310 up to about 330, the last time that this stock was trading in this area, that area ended up being support. So positive news here in the pre-market for ENVB. And look what happens, the same area. So the first time that this area gets tested since way back a couple months ago, it ends up turning on a dime and gets rejected from that prior resistance area in the exact same spot. So now that we understand what exactly support and resistance is, let's talk a little bit more, guys, about how we use this and how we can plan a trade around these significant areas.
Yeah, I think, look, at the end of the day, everyone wants to be making trades. And you want to figure out a way that you can take advantage of some of these levels. And, I'm going to go to a different stock here because this is one of those situations where a daily chart of a trend is going to give you a bit of an idea. Because one of the things people will try to do, and when I talked about this a little bit, it was predicting where support and resistance could be in the future. Everyone is looking at the same type of a chart. So when you see a very clear trend like this, another means by which people might use support and resistance is to draw simple trend lines. Now you can have something like an indicator, like a 50-period moving average, which will show you this, and that will be support. You can, and I'll do this for you guys live. It's kind of easy. You go like right to January, the beginning of the year, and I can draw a very clean trend line on the bottom. I can do the same one at the top, but I'm not going to bother. But you get that very clean sort of a trend line on a daily chart. Now, one of the things about this type of predictive, I suppose, support level is it's very useful for determining a bias, right? So if you have something along these lines, and then you have a support level like this, and I were to draw a trend line to the top, and I would have a resistance level, you can then look to see these natural support level or resistance levels like a 60 area, and then when it finally breaks to the upside, you could have a target. If I were to draw a trend line from here towards the top, you could have that 60 break because you have a nice little resistance at the top. If you're taking a breakout trade through a resistance level, you could say 60. I could say to myself, if I'm swing trading it, I'm trying to get out in front of that top. You could have an area of support either at a 50-period or at the bottom end of the trend line. In this particular case, it would happen to hit here. So a lot of times it can give you a bias in terms of direction, these trends. You go with the long side, that would be breaking through a resistance level. That's one way you can think about how to use a daily chart with both trend lines and a resistance level break to execute a bit of a trade. The other flip side to this would be, and of course this has not happened yet, would be if this trend is ever broken, where you get a close below the bottom here, you'd flip to somewhat of a sell bias. And then you might be looking for breaks of support that you might find to take some short-sided trades there. So a lot of times you go from one time frame to another, just showing you on a daily chart how you can have trend lines and support and resistance give you a bias towards your intraday direction.
Combining multiple catalysts there gives you even more reason to like a directional trade. Sean's going to show you what happens, though, when it doesn't work.
Yeah, it can't be that simple, right? That support and resistance work all the time. I'm going to have a name here. QuantumScape is a good example of where it doesn't really work. And you're going to find some of these stocks that are relatively new, IPOs or direct listings, SPACs, things like that, where price discovery really hasn't happened yet. That's where you're going to have some sort of sketchy moments with support and resistance. And I think there's a pretty good one right here. We were actually trading this live on the show when this happened. You know, QuantumScape, so a big move up, forget about this. You know, it just came to market, ripped all the way up to the upside, so that's just a pipe dream. If you're able to get out there, that's fantastic. But if you're playing the pullback down in, right, I drew a line here, basically at $40, $41, $42. You can see comes down, tests here, bounces back up. Tests, kind of flattens out. We come back, hit, bounced. Great support. So if I'm looking at this, and remember, you kind of have to cover this up over here because we're not sure what happens, but you play the support there, nice bounce. Comes back, look at this, bounces again. 1 time, 2 times, back again 3 times. You're like, oh my God, I'm long at 41. This is absolutely fantastic. But what happened here was a report came out, a short seller report came out, and all of a sudden, things changed. The environment changed for QuantumScape. This broke, and the minute that happened, and we gave up the ghost right here. A lot of the time, you don't want to play the exact resistance or support. You actually want to look to some of these wicks. So the true out for me on this trade would have been about 37. You always want to give yourself about, I'd say about 10% lower than where you're thinking, so you don't get trapped by traders sort of like wiping out there. So you're going to give that a little bit of a break, and then look at this. It breaks this support, and now all of a sudden we're at 27. So in this situation, it didn't work. Something changed. They had a short seller report come out, and that was that. It can also be earnings. It could be, you know, CEO talk, stepping down. Any sort of a major news announcement could definitely change support and resistance. So it's not a gold mine, but definitely gives you an idea of where to get in and to get out and when you're in trouble. So that's a good example of QuantumScape not holding the support.
Understand that these are areas, not single price levels. So as Sean was saying, you have to give yourself a little bit of room and understand how the stock is trading when it comes into the support and resistance areas that you have identified on the chart. Lots of great information. If you like this content, guys, get down in those comments, I should say, and let us know. Hit the like and subscribe as well. Let's go to Valeria.
Hey guys, thank you for this useful information. Dear viewers, please subscribe to this channel to see more great videos.